guys, Dina Zafiris here, and I have a bone to pick. So today's topic is, it morphs into a few other topics. So I'm just going to go ahead and delve in. What prompted this podcast is that I went to Petco to buy an e-collar. Okay, what is an e-collar? An e-collar can deliver a static shock. Let's discuss what a static shock is. It is not an electrocution. They make them really, really sensitive now. You could start at the lowest level when you're, walking around your living room in your socks and you touch your friend and you get that tiny little shock. It's even less than that. In fact, at the lower levels, you can't even feel it. So you're able to calibrate the zap so that it can correct your dog. And again, I want to be really, really clear why I was looking for an e-collar. Number one, I do not put it on every single dog, okay? I probably have used an e-collar for training, out of the thousands and thousands of dogs that I've trained, I've probably suggested an e-collar for maybe 10 dogs, okay? When I used to do search and rescue, we had dogs, beautiful, wonderful dogs that were finding missing people in the wilderness, and if those dogs chased a bear or a mountain lion, it would be the end of their life. So we would use the e-collar to prevent the dog from chasing wildlife, right? Or getting killed. When I used to live in Malibu, I worked for some really big movie stars, directors. They had these mansions right on a highway called Pacific Coast Highway. And that highway has beautiful beach properties, but the gate to the property is right on the highway, literally right on the highway. You open the gate and there is 60 mile an hour freeway. Cars going, 60 mile an hour cars on a freeway going right by your gate. And several of my clients' dogs had been escaping their boundaries. They have delivery people coming in, maids, flower people, whatever. Every time that gate opened, certain dogs would escape. So I would help people with electric boundaries. Some people wanted to do it by remote control, or you can dig the, electric line in the ground and have your dog wear a collar. Either way, what I look at with correction, and like I said, I would only resort to an e-collar if it was the last resort, okay? And if the benefits of that collar outweigh the harms, okay? Do the benefits of getting that shock outweigh the harms? So when I look at a dog escaping onto a freeway from its gate, sure, we can use liver cookies. We show the dog the boundary. We show the dog, positive reinforcement, how to stay in the boundary, and then we set him up. And if he still can't hold his horses, if he still escapes the boundary, the consequence of that is death, okay? That's the ultimate punishment. It's the ultimate correction, death, all right? When that is the case, I will apply a static shock in order to save the dog's life, okay? If I'm doing search and rescue with a dog that I've trained for 5 years to be certified to go find missing persons, if that dog chases a mountain lion, the ultimate consequence ensues, and that is what? Death. When the consequence is so great that the dog can be killed, and you've exhausted all other avenues of training, then you need to use correction, okay? There's some really loud thunder going on. I love this place. It's always something great when I do a podcast from home. So, guys, long story short, this is a dog I'm training. He has already been hit by a car. He did not die. He had some broken bones. It is not my dog. It's a client's dog. They want to train the dog remotely, meaning they don't want to put in an electric fence. They want the dog to wear a collar, and we train him to not leave the boundary by pressing a button that will deliver a static shock. First of all, remember, the shock can be calibrated. That is very, very important. What does that mean? I was talking about it before. Some of these collars have corrections from 0 to 100. Those are the different levels that you can have on the collar. And it's really, really important to understand, which we're not going to go into in this podcast, but you have to understand what level, how do you find the level that fits your dog? And in a nutshell, it's whatever gets their attention back on you. So if my dog is running after a deer, the minimal zap I will need to get that dog to stop on a dime and come back. all right? And we can calibrate up to that point. We don't start with a high level and back down. We start with the lowest level and see what works until we find a level that gets our dog's attention. And this is based on the dog's breed, the dog's size, the dog's level of determination, his motivation to chase the prey or do the wrong behavior and whatnot, okay? When you guys watched the video on operant conditioning, we talked about the 4 quadrants of operant conditioning. And as always, so when we talked about the 4 quadrants, we talked about the 4 quadrants of reinforcement. Everybody uses them all every day with children, with animals. Dog trainers use them with their clients. Bosses use it with their employees. People use it with their friends. You don't even know you're using it. It's a natural part of life. And I think what's happened, not to morph too many subjects in together, but because positive punishment or negative punishment, none of these things actually mean physical punishment, okay? They don't even mean shock collar or prong collar. But because the language has gotten so mixed up with dog trainers and people, and this all positive reinforcement movement, which by the way, can't even be real, and I'm gonna explain that in another podcast, there's no way that one can be 100% positive. For example, if a dog's on a harness and it's pulling you down the road and you simply stop, and the dog is pulling but you stop, that is a form of punishment, okay? So when we talk about punishment, again, if you're confused about it, you've got to watch the operant conditioning video and podcast, because our language is getting mixed up. What has happened is that now certain tools, such as the static shock collar, which saves dogs' lives and prevents dogs from being put in the shelter. How? Maybe not the e-collar, but the prong collar, for example. I've had clients who have spent $5,000 on training only to find that their dog is still pulling them down the road. They've exhausted all other opportunities, including, years of positive reinforcement, all sorts of tools, horrible tools like the head halty, which actually really hurt dogs. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. And they come to me, and in one day, just by having the prong on, I don't even use it. The dog just kind of feels that it's there, and they don't pull. Okay? You don't even have to use the tool. You let the tool do the work itself, okay? It's like if a stove is hot and I go, ooh, it's hot, I'm gonna choose not to touch it because the stove is there, right? The prong can work the same way. You don't have to, it's not a tool. You see people that use it to hang their dog in the air or really flip them over or whatever. That's ridiculous, guys, and no sort of correction should ever scare or hurt a dog, okay? But the head halty, I will say, actually harms the dog. It can break vertebrae in the neck, and it can cause severe whiplash, and it can give the dog lifelong problems. It works on torque, okay? And I'm gonna have the halty to show you in another video how it works. It does cause tremendous pain to the dog, which lasts long after the fact. A correction, like an e-collar correction or a prong collar, it is something that happens in the instant of the unwanted behavior, and then it's over. The dog feels no pain after. They feel no ongoing consequence for the behavior. It was an instant correction. So let's go back to Petco. So I go to Petco to buy the e-collar for a client's dog who's already been hit by a car. It's last resort. They've used positive reinforcement. I checked it. The dog is perfectly trained. He has a drop down command. He has a stay with distractions, everything. But if no one is there, he will sneak out the boundary. So how do we solve it? So I go to buy the e-collar because that would indeed at least help tremendously. Nothing is 100% safe, okay, guys? So I'm not saying that there's no chance, but there's a way better chance the dog will not want to leave the boundary if we e-collar train it. And that's the assessment we've made for this dog. I go to Petco, and in the glass case where the e-collars are, there's a sign that says stop the shock. And it has a little note that says, because we love animals so much, Petco has decided to discontinue all e-collars. Okay? We already talked about. Now we have so many more dogs that are going to be killed. It's true, because we can't use electric boundaries, fences, or zap collars to help save their lives. Okay. Right? Next to that was try our new product, the citronella spray collar. Let's just talk about what that is, guys. That is 100% torture for an animal, okay? It sprays a citronella juice spray, which dogs get in their eyes, on their fur, up their nose, and all over themselves. Let's just take barking, for example. Citronella spray bark collar. The dog barks, it squirts them with this odor. First of all, the dog's sense of smell, thousands of times greater than ours. And now the dog has to smell that all day long. Do you think the smell goes away? No. The punishment stays on the dog, affects all the other dogs around him that didn't bark, and it's cruel. It's torture. A correction, by definition, a correction has to happen instantaneously upon the unwanted behavior, and it may not last after that. How are they selling a citronella spray collar? And then you get people who squirt their dogs in the face. This is going to create aggression. I mean, I've had people get bit in the face because some trainer told them to spray their dog in the face. Never do this, guys. Never. You won't use a zap collar or a prong collar, but you'll squirt your dog in the face with water or a hose or a citronella spray collar. That is cruel, guys. It is on the level of torture, okay? So your dog is going to have to wear this spray for the whole day, and then he becomes desensitized. He doesn't even know, he's smelling the spray all day long, and then he barks again and it squirts him again, but he was already smelling the spray. So the correction then is useless because the dog has now become desensitized to the smell. How does he smells it anyway, he starts barking, he gets squirted again. It doesn't work, guys. It doesn't work. But Petco has fallen for, and I believe so has PetSmart, but I have to check, Petco has fallen for either they're extremely uneducated and they don't know what the quadrants of reinforcement are. They don't understand what correction is. They're uneducated. They don't understand that spraying the dog in the face with a citronella spray is cruel and horrible punishment. It is wrong. It is outrageous. Organizations like PETA, come on, guys. Let's stand up for the dogs. They should not be being sprayed in the face, okay? But I can show you that a static shock does not hurt, okay? It wakes you up, right? It wakes you up. Doesn't hurt. It's gone after it happens. It doesn't last the whole day. It has a super quick response rate of seeing a decrease in the unwanted behavior. It's clear, it's timely, you can do it from a distance, and I was horrified to see the stop the shock sign in Petco. Absolutely horrified. Guys, prong collars are next. I have to check on if Petco and PetSmart are still carrying prong collars. I will tell you that I do not like the made in China ones that come from Petco and PetSmart. They are sharp on the edges. None of them are pointed, but they are like, a tiny piece of metal that was just chopped at the end so the edges can be sharp. It's not a point though, it's a rounded, blunt edge, but it is an edge. If you buy a Herm Springer collar, I love you, Herm Springer. It's a great brand. They're from Germany. Herm, H-E-R-M, Springer. It'll be on my list of desirable products. S-P-R-E-N-G-E-R, Herm Springer. They make a wonderful prong collar. It has rounded tips. They're rounded. They're soft. There's no way they can cut the skin. Of course, you have to fit the collar right, use it right. You don't leave it on. You don't have it too tight. I mean, there are so many things that can go wrong with any tool that you use, but out of all the tools, the prong is great and wonderful. Again, it's a corrective type of collar. I do not put it on every dog or any dog unless it is needed. Guys, unless it is needed. I've had clients bring their dogs back to shelters because they can't take a walk because their dogs are pulling on the leash and pulling them down the street after years of positive reinforcement, thousands of dollars. We put a prong on and the dog stops pulling immediately. And someone will say, well, you're causing it pain. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'll take a challenge with anybody. No, I'm not. It might surprise the dog. He might look back at you, but I'll show you a dog in pain, and that is a dog in a head halty, which works on torque and pain, okay? It is a horrible product. So we have Petco, which says you can't use an e-collar, which causes no pain, okay? If you use it correctly, it causes no pain. but they are promoting and selling a citronella spray collar. You tell me the reasoning and the logic behind that. I don't understand, okay? Let's talk about corrections. So these methods that are supposed to be kind, right? Like the head halting. Guys, there's a trainer online, and in the ad, I won't even say if it's a he or she, but in the ad for his program, he talks about shaking a can of pennies at your dog. You shake that at your dog, and that really does startle and scare your dog. It's horrible. They also become hand shy. They become noise sensitive. They're going to start to become fearful of noises. You just have a bunch of junk out there. So my bone to pick today is that tools are not bad, all right? Correction is not bad. You need to understand it. I like using the word correction, but because you can't even use the word punishment, guys. Negative punishment means taking something away that decreases the likelihood of behavior. What's negative reinforcement? Taking something away that increases the likelihood of behavior. It has nothing to do with correction. You can take away a cookie to decrease the likelihood of a behavior. That would be called negative punishment. And if you went around saying, I'm a negative punishment trainer, but all you did was take away a cookie, how many people would hire you? Okay? So there either needs to be a mass education on the general public about what these words mean, a mass, people need to stand up and say, there's so many myths, right? So this podcast is actually going to be on the myths, and mistakes, is not understanding correction and what it means and how it saves dogs' lives and how it prevents dogs from ending up in the shelter. Guys, it's totally true. So I welcome your questions, comments, or otherwise. Stay. Come on, Pissy, come back. Good girl. My horses ran and the dog went and I told her to stop and she's coming back. I've never used correction on her. I just trained her properly, okay? When I say, come back, right? The is adding what? Adding voice. So that's positive. Okay? And it positive. And what did it do to the behavior of chasing? It decreased it. Positive punishment. She charged. I added my voice. And she stopped doing what she was doing, which was charging the horse. That's called positive punishment. Did I use force? Did I use correction? No, I simply used my voice. Okay? But the dog has been trained to respect my voice by using my release command, using a leash to show her what break versus is, or stay. All these things have to be trained. So that now, and you can see, I'm going to move the camera really fast. You can see my horses right there. I think you can see them. Where are they? They're right there. There they are. You can see them right there, okay? And I have all my dogs out here hanging out. Of course they want to chase the dog. Of course the dogs want to chase the horses, right? But they're trained not to. Once in a great while, someone goes woo, and like the horses kind of started and they started galloping, and one dog, my least trained dog, but she's wonderfully trained, the Skye Terrier, she charged. I just said, and she came back. How did I do that? You find out when you take the steps in this program. You take the steps in this program to understand the truth about dogs, how easy it is, how simple it is. You don't have to go through years and years of training. You just want to get the basics. For those of you who want to move on in the program, we're going to go on to tricks, advanced things, heel work to music, basic agility stuff, talking about service dogs. The sky is the limit. Dog sports, you want to go do search and rescue, it all starts with foundation. But if people misunderstand the basics, the basic tools we have to train the dogs are being taken away. We will not be able to get any tools before long. We won't be able to have a leash and a collar before long. We'll only be able to have a harness because people are scared of the neck, because people are using collars incorrectly. If you're walking your dog on a harness or a flat collar and he's pulling you, that's not good, guys. It's not good. And you will damage your dog's trachea, okay? There's more videos about prong collar use where I'm gonna have the tool and actually show you in a video how it works. Dogs, okay, have body language. I can show you how to apply prong collar pressure and have that mean a treat, so that you actually teach your dog that pressure on the leash actually means something good, okay? So, that's my bone to pick for today. I'm extremely disappointed in Petco. I don't know, man. I may be in trouble for saying the name, but I think people need to know, and I would like to have an answer from the executives at Petco about why they're doing this. If it's, you know, I can't imagine who made the decision and how educated that person actually is in dog training, where they're getting their information from. It's very sad. It's a sad day, and I don't know when that happened, but and I don't know how to stop it. We can join together and speak up. We can create a really, really large website of people who do know. I can do podcasts, I can get the word out, I can do articles, I could go speak at universities, which I'm going to this December. I'm doing a talk on operant conditioning and how language is being misunderstood when it comes to operant conditioning and how operant conditioning applies to dogs. But other than education, I don't know what we're gonna do. And you guys are heroes for joining this mission. Share it with your friends, share it immediately. If you know anybody using a head halty, if you know anybody spraying their dogs in the face with water, or, my goodness, a citronella spray collar being sold at Petco, I mean, that should be taken off the shelves right now. Call PETA right now on that, all right? And the fact is, there will probably always be private companies that can sell e-collars, but that's coming too. It's probably a matter of time before these things are outlawed and illegal in the United States. Guys, tools are tools. They will always be misused. I can take a shoe and beat my dog with it. Should shoes be illegal? Okay, it's back to that basic reasoning of you gotta have a brain, you gotta be educated. Maybe there could be a class and a certification program for people who wanna buy e-collars. I would go there, I would. I mean, people buy these things, they don't know how to use them. That's terrible, it's true. Kids get a hold of the remote control and zap the dog and think it's funny. I mean, horrible things happen, absolutely. But those same things and worse can happen with household items, people hitting their dogs, kicking their dogs. You know, it's a matter of education. And I want to get out there and give people the tools that make their life better with their dog. All right, guys, that's my bone to pick. See you soon.